Fox, are you ready for some timeline confusion? Spoiler warning for all X-Men movies: what doesn't help is the films are released in the wrong order. So to start off, here's their chronological and release orders. Release order: X-Men, X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Origins Wolverine, X-Men First Class, The Wolverine, X-Men Days of the Future Past, Deadpool, X-Men Apocalypse, Logan, The New Mutants, Deadpool 2, X-Men Dark Phoenix, Gambit. Chronological order: X-Men First Class 1962, X-Men Days of Future Past 1973 sequence, X-Men Origins Wolverine 1981, X-Men Apocalypse alternate 1983, X-Men Dark Phoenix alternate 1991, X-Men 2000, X2 2003, X-Men The Last Stand 2006, The Wolverine 2013, Deadpool 2016, The New Mutants 2018, Deadpool 2 2018, X-Men Days of Future Past 2023 sequence, Logan 2029. Fox, this is the movie that really screwed up the timeline. Here's where it starts getting confusing. Even with the chronological order, there is an old timeline and a new one. The movie that really screwed everything up was X-Men Days of Future Past with all its timey-wimey antics. But before we get to that, we're going to have a look at the original timeline, before it was altered. Granted, there are scenes in some of the movies set before the change in 1973, like X-Men First Class in 1962 and WW2, and Wolverine as spin-offs in different parts of the 19th and 20th century. But since the change took place in 1973, anything prior to that year goes unchanged in either timeline, so will not be included. Sunday, July 24, 2016. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Original timeline 1973. In the original events of X-Men Days of Future Past, Mystique assassinated Peter Dinklage's Trask. She is captured and has her DNA used to advance Trask's Sentinel robots, giving them an ability to adapt to any mutant power. 1981. In X-Men Origins Wolverine, Logan is given his adamantium skeleton and claws by William Stryker. Logan loses his memory after defeating a moothless Deadpool. Timeline inconsistency, and we see a shot of a walking, bald professor by. 1983. The events of X-Men Apocalypse do not occur. 2000. The events of X-Men occur. 2003. The events of X-Men 2 occur. 2006. The events of X-Men The Last Stand occur. Fox. Logan was never the same after he had to put down Jean Grey in X-Men The Last Stand. 2013. In The Wolverine, Logan has become a bearded recluse, psychologically damaged by the death of Jean Grey in The Last Stand. He ends up in Japan for the events for a spin-off store where he loses his adamantium claws, but on his return to the US he's greeted in an end-credits sequence by Professor X and Magneto. They ask him to come with them after sharing news of the rapidly advancing Sentinels, a direct tease for X-Men Days of Future Past. 2016. It is unknown whether the events of Deadpool occur or not. 2018. It is unknown whether the events of Deadpool 2 occur or not. Deadpool 2 is released on June 1, 2018. Fox. Things aren't looking bright in 2023, so some badass time travel is needed. 2023. The world is in post-apocalyptic landscape in X-Men Days of Future Past. The last surviving mutants hide in pockets around the world from the genocidal advanced Sentinels. Realizing their only hope is to change the timeline, Wolverine, who has his adamantium claws back presumably thanks to Magneto, agrees to be sent back to 1973. There he will work with a younger Professor X and Magneto, to prevent Mystique's assassination of Trask and her capture. Fox. Wolverine arrives in 1973 ready to change the past. Friday, December 30, 2016. Unmissable new films for 2017. So what changed in Days of Future Past? Rather than creating another timeline like the rebooted Star Trek movies and Back to the Future Part 2, Wolverine's time travel results in an alteration to the same timeline. We know this as after the change all the characters disappear and wake up in the new reality. Another factor to back up this theory is that Wolverine time travels back into his body from 1973. This is instead of physically traveling back in his 2023 body, which would be at risk of bumping into his other self. If this were the case, which it is not, there would be a new timeline created with two Wolverines, just as there is with young and old Spock at the end of Star Trek. Fox. Mystique's assassination of Trask in 1973 is the main turning point. Altered timeline 1973. Wolverine and young Professor X prevent Mystique's assassination of Trask. Magneto goes mad, moving a stadium over the White House with his powers. Mystique then finds herself almost killing Trask again, but then decides not to, resulting in the new version of the same timeline. Just before this, Magneto throws Wolverine into a lake with metal girders forced through his body. His is then rescued by a young William Stryker who imprisons Wolverine with the purpose of casing his skeleton with adamantium, as part of the Weapon X project. Fox new timeline allowed the events of X-Men Apocalypse to occur 1981. The events of X-Men Origins Wolverine do not occur because Wolverine is already incarcerated by Stryker. 1983 The events of X-Men Apocalypse occur. Wolverine is freed from his imprisonment at the Weapon X facility by young Cyclops and Jean Grey, with his new adamantium skeleton and claws. Sometime afterwards, a man in a suit arrives there and collects the blood of Wolverine, placing vials of it into a case marked X-Corp, a fact that will be crucial for the events of Wolverine 3.1991. The events of X-Men Dark Phoenix occur. X-Men Dark Phoenix is released on November 2, 2018. 2000. It is unknown whether the events of X-Men occur or not. FOXAre Deadpool fits in as anyone's guess. 2003 It is unknown whether the events of X2 occur or not. 2006 The events of X-Men The Last Stand do not occur and Jean Grey doesn't go crazy, so Logan doesn't have to put her down. 2013 The events of the Wolverine do not occur as Jean Grey, Cyclops and Beast did not die. 2016 The events of Deadpool occur. 2018 The events of the New Mutants occur. New Mutants is released on April 13, 2018. 2018 The events of Deadpool 2 occur. Deadpool 2 is released on June 1, 2018. Fox New Mutants and X-Men Horror takes place in present day, so 2018 is that's when its release. Ed Fox and The Altered Timeline. Jean and Scott did die 2023. Since the timeline has been altered, we see a glimpse of the new 2023 at the end of X-Men Days of Future Past. Things are as normal at Professor X's school, with Wolverine a history teacher and Jean Grey and Beast very much alive. Post-2023 The Westchester incident takes place, where an elderly Professor X has a seizure that injures 600 people and kills 7 X-Men, as referenced in Logan. Wolverine takes Professor X into hiding as Xavier's school for gifted youngsters is closed and the X-Men are disbanded. Fox Hugh Jackman's Wolverine has appeared in all 9 X-Men movies to date. Expect Deadpool 2029. The events of Logan take place. No new mutants have been born for 20 years and Wolverine is living as a limo driver on the Mexican border with Professor X and Caliban. Since the blood of Logan was picked up by X-Corp in 1983, it's assumed that this produced X-23, a female clone of Wolverine, known as Laura in the new film. Scraping a living AA limo driver, Wolverine ends up on a road trip across the states being persuaded by dark forces who want to recapture X-23. Tuesday, January 17, 2017 Logan trailer. Stunning stills from the upcoming Wolverine movie. Fox Logan is set in 2019 and sees Wolverine take X-23 on a road trip across the U.S. The film will be Hugh Jackman's 9th and final appearance as Wolverine, after appearing in all 3 X-Men trilogies. So there you have it, a sort-ofly explained X-Men movie timeline. But what about things like when Professor X and Magneto saying they met when they were 17 in X-Men, only for them to meet as adults in X-Men First Class? Or when Mystique was disguised as Stryker at the end of X-Men Days of Future Past having captured Wolverine, only for him to back with the real man in X-Men Apocalypse? We seriously have no idea.